Karceno. What's up, brother? Hey, in all Karceno's defense right now, Gabriel, he was actually calling in about Darrell in the Super 6. He wasn't calling in about talking about Floyd Mayweather and stuff. I'm the one
Gabe's not feeling well. That's what I said. If you got to drug testing on that show, he needs to be in by Thursday.
Gabe? You have to be actually funny. That's the thing. I'm actually glad that I'm sitting down because hearing that he's not calling about Floyd, I had some heart palpitations there for a second.
No, I talk about it. You just don't listen. Only when I talk about Floyd do you pay attention when I'm saying.
Really? Oh, okay. That's exactly right, Karceno, and that's the difference. When you argue with someone like me who actually works in the industry and tries to tell me what fights happened and what didn't, and when I respond and say this fight was ducked for this reason and that fight was ducked for this reason, your information comes from what people like myself write. My information comes from the people that work for those people, the people that work with Floyd, the people that work with the fight camps that told me, this is 3 separate sources, that Floyd's camp did not want to fight Joel Casamayor because, and I quote, he is a difficult fighter, a southpaw with a heavy Cuban amateur career. We don't want that fight. Floyd's own words, he's a Showtime fighter. I'm an HBO fighter. I'm not going to fight him. That was 5 minutes after he walked into the press conference for Casamayor and Freitas post-fight and called them out in front of the media. And a media member caught him afterwards and said, did you really mean that? And he said, and I quote, oh, hell no, man. I'm a HBO fighter. There's Showtime fighters. There's bullshit, and then there's the truth. There's what you read, and there's what we actually know. That's the difference. That's where guys like you frustrate me, because you come at me with a bunch of bullshit about a bunch of shit that you've read and pictures of you with Floyd trying to be a fan and then saying that you're not, and when your whole agenda is to tell me how I'm wrong when my facts tell me quite the opposite. That's what bothers me, and that's why I consider you something of a troll, and that's why I blocked you.
Well, anyway, now that you've done, I do my homework, and I do have some of the similar kind of friends that you have. And I'm actually
they're not my friends, they're sources. They're not my friends, they're sources.
I'm actually around the same people that you're around. I've been in a lot of different press conferences. I've been there myself, but I don't just jump at everything I read and throw it out in the public. I do listen constructively, and I do take what you say to heart, but you never really say.
That's right.
You really just come with slapstick.
That's why you made a video about me.
Completely misrepresenting a company. You really came with facts.
That's actually not true, and that's why you made a video about me on YouTube saying that you bested me and Steve in a debate when.
Yeah, we were having a little
let me finish my fucking sentence, Karceno. Karceno, let me finish my sentence. That's why you misrepresented that and called it a debate when actually it was me and Steve schooling you.
No, you guys just have a slapstick comedy back and forth. It really was. Steve only said like 2 lines, and and then he was done.
And I actually said quite a bit more than that, and they were all fact-based. He was not the linear champion. Vladimir was not the linear champion. And he certainly wasn't the unified champion because the only established champion, as I explained to you, was Margarito. All the other ones couldn't hold the belt for more than one defense, and when they fought an elite fighter, they lost. Meanwhile, Antonio Margarito, with his WBO belt, was taking on #1 contender after #1 contender and held it for 8 defenses. He was a legitimate fighter. He's the reason that Floyd bought his contract out so he could leave Bodvaram and avoid that fight, which was being scheduled. And no, he did not make $8,001,001 to fight Vladimir. He made about 6. He had to give about $2 million back because it was a back-end deal against the gate, which Floyd has never been good at selling. Those are facts.
Well, here's one fact for you. Floyd said he got 12 for that fight. So
yeah, Floyd said a lot of things.
Okay, well, hey, that's what was printed, and I'm telling you what was said. So he said he got 12. Vladimir was the legitimate welterweight champion of the world.
But did he tell you that? I'm going to ask you right now. Did he tell you that he got 12?
No, he told that. He went on air and stated that.
Exactly right. And I actually talked to people that paid him. I actually talked to multiple sources, like a good journalist does, and confirmed that shit. That is not true. It is not true.
Well, that I don't know. And I never said that it was true. I'm telling you that's what was said. But you can, you probably have your facts, so you can look that up and see. But I'm just telling you what was stated.
Why would I fight Margarito for $8 million when I got $12 million and I was fighting for the title? Who were you fighting? Who were you fighting for $12 million?
That's what I fought.
Who did you really fight for $12 million? I don't believe that. That's a lie.
They asked me to fight Margarito, but then they brought Baltimore to the table. Once again, Bob Arum said he'd give me $8 million. They brought Baltimore to the table and offered me $12 million. So what are you talking about?
That he rebuted it when it was brought to him, and he said he got $12 million. So that's my take on that. But as far as the fighting aspect of it and not the money, because that's what's important, he fought Baltimore, who, like you said, to give that Cinderella guy the chance. Baltimore was called the Cinderella Man. If I'm not mistaken.
That was not. No, wait. That was not. Hold on, Gabe, and Karceno, come on, bro. First off, he did not give him the chance. Baltimore gave him the chance. Baltimore was the unified champion of the world. Baltimore was the unified champion of the world. Baltimore was the unified champion of the world. So let's not get that twisted. Let's remember that. Who had the title?
Baltimore was the weak link in the welterweight division.
I know, but let's not get...
Let's look at one statement. You said that that's what Floyd says. Well, here's another thing that he said. I'll never fight a sparring partner. Well, guess what? Henry Brucelis, chief sparring partner for Miguel Cotto. All these guys, DeMarcus Corley coming off a loss when he fought Floyd. Henry Brucelis coming off a draw and a sparring partner. Arturo Gatti, well past his prime. That was actually just, positioned by Bob Arum to introduce Floyd to the pay-per-view community using somebody that had a bigger draw. Understandable fight. But then he never fought the best at 140, and fighting him at 147 did not count. Sarbe Mitchell, one fight removed from a horrible knockout loss and looked horrible in his welterweight debut. So Floyd decided to fight him as a debut in the welterweight division. Zab Judah coming off a loss. Carlos Baldomir, 9 losses, 6 draws. And Floyd, in his own words, said that split decision win that he got over Zab Judah doesn't count because everybody knows we don't count split decisions. That's a direct quote to an interview with Brian Kenny. Oscar De La Hoya, not the best fighter at that time at 154 pounds, just the biggest cash cow, not the best at 154. Juan Manuel Marquez, career lightweight, actually career featherweight, who had barely moved up to lightweight in his 30s and then had to move up to 154. Floyd said, let's do the fight at 154, changed the contract the week of the fight, came in at 146, and then paid to have that done. Shane Mosley had to wait 17 months to actually get that fight, and we all knew what happened there.
But this is what happened, Gabe. When he went up to 140, you know his plan was to fight Costa Zoo. We all know that, right? I know you've heard about it, right? And you know what they did. Showtime and HBO couldn't come to an agreement. And you can ask Bob Arum because, it was printed, but, it could be wrong. But you got the sources, Gabe, so you can talk to Bob. And Bob Arum couldn't get the fight with Costa Zoo. They went ahead because they wanted more money. They went ahead and fought Ricky Hatton in England and tried so they could win that fight to get in a better position to negotiate for more money with Bob Arum. And we all know how that went. So then they said,
what's interesting about that is that Floyd went on TV and said before that fight, I'll fight Ricky Hatton in England. When Ricky Hatton won that fight, suddenly he didn't want to go to England. So once again, we have a guy that I actually wrote an interesting article to me anyways, when Floyd returned from his quote-unquote retirement, saying the king of contradictions is back. And I detailed pretty much every contradiction he's ever made in the sport because he's full of them. And that was done of about 20. Not many people, actually. Actually, most people say what they do and do what they mean, and they back up their words. Floyd seems to change it depending on the argument when he fought Carlos Baldomir was I'm fighting him because he's a linear champion. Well, the first time I interviewed Floyd before the Hatton fight, I said, if you're interested in being a linear champion in history, then why are you fighting Ricky Hatton, who's the linear 140-pound champion, at 147? Why would you miss out on the chance on being a concurrent, simultaneous rather, linear champion? His response was, I'm the president of boxing. What I says goes. So it's always very convenient when it works in his favor. It's all just lip service in the end.
Okay. Now, moving on to Ricky Hatton, after they couldn't get the
fucking brick wall.
Right? Ricky Hatton. No, I heard you. You just got to, I'm going to go through the whole thing.
It's just a brick wall and dissolve. You're like
okay, Ricky Hatton's father said, we are not going to fight Floyd Mayweather at this time. We need to take the
that was after. That was all after Floyd decided he wasn't going to live up to his word and go to England. Ricky was a bitter draw. He made more money in that fight than Floyd did.
Why would he fight in England? And you know why he said he wouldn't fight in England? He saw what happened to Costa Zoo in England.
If you're the best, why should that matter?
It was a wrestling
If you're the
match.
best, why shouldn't that matter? If you're the best, why would that matter? If it's a tailor-made style, and I've heard the argument that he shouldn't. It didn't matter what weight he fought him at because the style dictated that Floyd would win, which I actually believe. But if that's actually true, then you should be able to fight him anywhere. All the greats did it. Sugar Ray Robinson did it multiple times, and yet Floyd won't fight overseas. How can you be the best if you don't do what the best have done?
Exactly, and you can't criticize, Joe Calzaghe and any of these other guys if they didn't do the same. And the thing is this too, bro, is if you look at it, even when that fight was announced with Floyd Mayweather and Ricky Hatton, I said, man, it's gonna be a replica of what Floyd did to Arturo Gatti. Rest in peace. We all knew it. It was a bad matchup for Hatton, not for Floyd, for Hatton.
This is the thing, David. This is really the last thing I really want to say on this, because I think it's a tired subject. Is that guys like this make me seem like I'm a hater. And I actually am a guy that actually gets in the ring. I've been doing Jeet Kune Do for 3 years. I've been boxing for 15 years. I get in the ring and I actually take punches, and I learn about the sport from the inside out. And then in my work with sources all through the sport. I have tremendous respect for what Floyd does in the ring. I think he is a once-in-a-lifetime type fighter, certainly once in my lifetime. Maybe Guillermo Rigondeaux is another guy that will come close to what he did, although he's starting a little late. I have tremendous respect for him as a fighter. It's his fans that piss me the fuck off because they're blind.
Well, I don't think I'm blind. I think I can see very well. Floyd's not even my favorite fighter of all time.
I'm sure Ray Charles thought he saw it pretty well, too.
Yeah, I got Felix Trinidad ranked above Floyd Mayweather. That's the way I look at it. I looked at it, Thomas Hearns is my favorite fighter of all time, next to Felix Trinidad. Mike Tyson is third. I'm like, dude.
I'm willing to bet you. I'm willing to bet you any amount of money that you would not say that if Floyd was in the room with us right now.
I told him that. Matter of fact, he knows me and him are great fans of Felix Trinidad. So, yeah, we've had this discussion. What are you talking about?
Karceno, I'm gonna let you have the final word, brother. Go ahead, man. Tell me what you got, and then I gotta let you go because we got a lot of other things to cover.
Thanks for having me on, and everybody. Gabe's not really like that. He's kind of like, got too much pressure on him right now. Writer's block. But
what the fuck is that supposed to mean?
You too caught into me. You got to get caught into everything else. Too much going on right now.
I'm just allergic to time thieves, and that's what I consider you.
Yeah. I know. There's just too much negativity, and you got to learn to be positive, man. Be a positive person.
It's a family show, but go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Can we move on?
You get all upset and...
I'm not upset. You're wasting my time with a fighter that isn't fighting, that has no interest in furthering our sport.
He just fought in May. He fought twice in a year.
He has no interest in furthering the sport. He has no interest in giving the fight fans the fights they actually want. Because you know who actually was the best welterweight?
What are you talking about? He's
not going to fight shit in May other than maybe some guys in a cell. I have tremendous respect for what Floyd does in the ring. I think he is a once-in-a-lifetime type fighter, certainly once in my lifetime. Maybe Guillermo Rigondeaux is another guy that will come close to what he did, although he's starting a little late. I have tremendous respect for him as a fighter. The real guy that he should have fought at welterweight, who was the best welterweight, is Paul Williams. But we all know why that fight can't happen now, don't we?
Hey, bro, you guys got to come up with your own radio show. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know. Gabe gets you going, because he got all these facts of being negative. He looks at everything negative. He'll look at a fighter's shorts and find something wrong.
It's not negative, though, dog. It's not
and that is the difference.
Larry Merchant
Exactly.
Jr.
Larry
Merchant Jr. right there.
Shut the